All right. Hi, everyone. Thanks very much for joining us. I'm here with Martin from Cobloom. They are a SaaS and other business pricing strategy company based in London, I believe. Is that right?
Indeed, we're based. We have an office in London. We tend to work just outside London.
Cool.
Most of the time.
Awesome.
Indeed, yes.
Well,
Yeah,
Martin,
and we help software businesses with all aspects of growth.
all aspects of growth. Okay. Well, I'm laser focused on the issue of pricing today, but Martin's very kindly agreed to take just a few minutes to talk to us about pricing strategy, especially as it applies to SaaS businesses. So Martin, thank you very much for giving up a bit of time.
It's a pleasure.
So when thinking about SaaS, it's this kind of catch-all term. Some people think of it as like a honeypot or a turn the switch on and start making money. When thinking about a SaaS business, what are the different types of pricing strategies that you see are most common?
Yeah, good question. Great question. Yeah, there's a number of different approaches, and the obvious first one is freemium versus premium. Is the freemium meaning that it's a free service, and as people get more confident with the product and get more value from it, then they convert from the free service to the premium service. And we've seen a lot of software companies grow very effectively using that. They tend to be the lower price ones with larger quantities of users. Most SaaS businesses tend to be B2B, and they tend to be a lot of them are higher value products, and they tend to follow the approach of having a free trial. So you have a free trial for a set period of time, and then from that point, then you convert to paying after your free trial period if you want to continue to use and get value from the product. So those are the two main umbrella approaches in terms of pricing. Now within that, there's lots of different flavors.
Yeah, there's actually a great article from you guys that goes through, I don't know, it seems like hundreds of different types of subgenres, and which we'll include as well. When you see the difference, when you see different types of firms use each of those different types of examples, what degree do you think it is a psychological exercise of trying to psychoanalyze the customer versus an appropriate way of pricing a product? Do you ever get that when you're interacting with founders or?
Yeah, I'll answer the question this way. In terms of the price, there's two aspects to it. First of all, the price must avoid creating a barrier to entry.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, so it should encourage people to give it a try and to give the product a try, but at the same time, it has to preserve the fact that you're in the SaaS world to make money, and therefore, as the customer gets more value from the product, then they pay more money, and it's key that a good price should satisfy both those needs. And I think that's the way that's what affects the people that do it right. Take that approach.
So just in terms of the people doing it right, then, what are some of the trends that you're seeing in the industry, especially maybe in relatively recently compared with maybe a few years ago? Have things, are there certain trends that have emerged that you find particularly interesting?
Yeah, certainly. The biggest thing that's changed is if you go back to the dark ages of software, when it was hosted on your own infrastructure,
yeah.
then the standard way that software companies priced was based on numbers of users, and it was all based on numbers of users or numbers of active users, and that historically has been the way that software has been priced. Now the advent of SaaS has changed that, in that there's a lot more you get a lot more insight into the way that your customers are using your product and the value they're getting from your product, because it's now hosted within your own, within your own hosted service. So you're able to be a lot more creative in terms of the way you price your product.
Yeah.
And there's still a lot of companies I see out there that still use user-based pricing, and it is right for some products, but for many products, then user-based pricing is not the best approach. And and certainly I would say that's the biggest change that I've seen. The successful software companies, where they can, except for the likes of CRM systems where it's the salesman, the salesman that's out there in the field that's bringing the revenue into the business. Therefore, for a CRM system, for example, it makes sense for that to be user-based,
Sure,
a user-based price. But for many other products, then it's just not right.
So what are some alternatives, or like what are some examples of where that has kind of diverged? Maybe in terms of just general types of businesses, and what models have they gone to?
Yeah, the way what a lot of companies try to do, and again, I see this as a trap. What a lot of software companies have tried to do is to look at how much their platform is being used,
Yeah,
and look at things like numbers of calls, number of
like
calls,
Coda.
amount of data that's being stored, amount of and all these sort of things that are very much internal, and looking at it, from a cost point of view. These are resources that we're giving them, and trying to cost based on resource. Whereas the successful software companies, and the really, the ones that have scaled, have tended to break away from that type of approach and do it more from a metric that the customer can understand and
Sure.
see value from. So the important thing is to always look at your pricing from your customer's point of view. So when your customer sees your price, then they very quickly work out what the price will be for their business.
Mm.
If they can't, then you haven't got your pricing.
Exactly. Sometimes you see these different sliders to try and calculate how much you're going to pay, and it's for a certain amount of features, for a certain amount of users, and for a certain amount of bandwidth, and they try and have it all.
Exactly. And to be honest, when you start out and you first look at a product, you've probably no idea what the answer to all those questions really is. Because only once you start to use it that you start to see how it works within your business. And so it's important to keep pricing simple and easily understandable from the business, from your customer's business point of view.
So when you're working with clients, especially when you're looking at pricing, how do you go about trying to help clients figure out where to price appropriately? What are the kinds of activities that you do?
Well, the first thing to look at is you need to speak to the customers,
mm-hmm.
to engage with the customers, and understand how the customer is using the product and the value they see to their business from the product. Not about the features that are used; it's about the values of their business. Does it the sorts of things are, does it mean that I can run my business with half the people that I would have had without this product, for example? Or does it mean that I can bring in 10% more revenue by having this product because I can improve the service that I offer to my clients? And those sorts of things are the sorts of things that trigger people to buy software, and also those are the sorts of things that impact the price that people are comfortable with paying for your product.
Okay, cool. And so after speaking with their customers, do you usually or do you advocate for people trying a lot of different types of pricing to run experiments, or is it a lot more deliberate than that?
Yeah, it's a lot more deliberate than that, in that you should be able to shape the pricing structure that's appropriate and going to make sense for the business. but the thing that's important is that you can, in a volume business, you can A/B test pricing.
Sure.
So you can try different pricing scenarios and just check your conversion rates. Using this pricing model, I get this many more signups by pricing this way versus the other way. But on the other side of that, if the price is higher, even though you may get slightly less people sign up, those people might prove to be a better fit and therefore more valuable in terms of their customer lifetime value. So it isn't, it isn't always a straightforward game, but it's, you can A/B test your pricing and and prove out what will work and deliver the best.
In terms of stage, when does somebody who is running a SaaS business, when do they just kind of put something out there versus actually take the time to consult with someone like you in doing a lot more in-depth looking at target market and potential pricing structure? Is there a certain metric that you look for before engaging with people like that, a number of users, etc.?
No, that's a great question. That is, it's one that I do. It's one that I face a lot. It's
yeah.
A lot of SaaS companies come to me and say, "Can you help me with pricing?" And so I ask them some questions about how many customers they've got and how far through they are, and the key thing is, how close are they to product market fit?
Sure.
To really understanding who the right fit customers are for their product, because what you want is you want a price that's going to fit your right fit customer, and the people that are going to get value from it. Until you've got to that point, I'd almost say your price doesn't really matter.
Yeah.
Because the thing you need up until that point is you need companies using your product, and therefore you don't want to put anything in there that's going to prevent them from using it. And it isn't about making money. It isn't about making margin. It's about proving that your product is a fit to the market, and therefore during those early stages, I say pricing doesn't matter. It's
right.
Sometimes it can upset investors and but it's imperative that you get as many of the right fit people using your product and proving customer success before you worry about putting the pricing strategy together to scale the business.
But and correct me if I'm wrong, you're not saying that price doesn't matter in that you should be giving it away for free. It's about it's the specific model. You shouldn't be thinking that you're going to be able to nail it with 10 customers and then know what your business model is for the next 100,000.
Absolutely right. Yeah, absolutely right.
Yeah. So in terms of some good kind of or maybe some interesting examples of companies that you've worked with in the past, or those that you've just seen doing some innovative things from the point of view of kind of pricing strategy or pricing changes, are there kind of examples that people can look at when wanting to get a bit of inspiration about what different possibilities there are out there for models?
Yeah, it's quite interesting. A lot of the players that have been in software for a long time, have used quite complex pricing models.
Yeah.
And it's quite interesting that the new players have a much simpler approach to pricing. And I guess it's really a hangover from the old world, and in the old world of pricing and pricing based on the size of the machine you've got and the number of users you've got. There's really some quite complex pricing structures out there from the older boys that have been in software for a lot longer.
Yeah. So I guess the advice that you read online for people who are just getting started, they're saying, well, you need your pricing page. You need three prices. You need a low, medium, a high. You're going to put the most popular banner on the middle one. And you're going to price either by quota, like by amount of stuff that you're allowed to do, or by feature. You're going to have access to more features, and that's it. And basically just stick with that, and then just keep switching. Is that what you'd advise someone to start doing if they are literally starting from nothing, or is there another approach that you'd advise, bearing in mind that pricing doesn't matter, but just to get going? Like what are some things that founders can do early on to test market suitability to even pay money for it at all?
Yeah.
A ton of questions wrapped up in one there.
Yeah, no, the tiered pricing can work, and the thing to do is to try and align the tiers not so much with your product, but the use case. And trying to look at if you're a small business, that's the right fit of this sort of size, then this would be the sort of product that you want to use. When you get a bit bigger, then you'll need this additional functionality to manage these things, and therefore try and avoid doing it based on feature, but more in the language of the sorts of people that you want to use the product. It's
end goal.
Yeah. But yes, the three-tier approach works well, and there's lots of tricks and psychology you can play to encourage people to go
97p 90.
And there's lots of games you can play that I guess on the law of averages they probably work. Just by getting people to go to where you want them to go.
So any kind of final thoughts in terms of maybe some of the oddest pricing structures you've seen recently? Have there been any that have just confused you in terms of how you don't need to name names, but like a way that a company has been thinking about pricing that you think is a little bit off?
Yeah, well, we wrote an article a while ago. I didn't know whether it's still up to date. I think the pricing's probably moved on, but we compared the pricing of the Loqua with HubSpot, and it was really interesting. And just looking at how you could price this in a very complicated way, and how you could keep pricing simple. And it's it's interesting. So that's coming back to the example of the older players, like Oracle versus the newer players in the software game, and how they're approaching the pricing challenge from a new perspective.
Cool. All right. Well, thank you so much. Thank you, Martin, for giving a bit of your time, and hopefully by the end of our week we'll have a pricing structure that conforms to the it doesn't matter, but at least we're trying to prove something.
Yeah, no, fantastic. No, I'll share the link to that article.
Thank you. Yeah, we'd love that. That would be great.
And the pricing models one is probably one that people.
Oh yeah. We're making a little resource library, so that would be really helpful.
So do you want me to share that with you? And
yes, that would be great.
Okay.
All right. Well, thanks so much for your time.
It's a pleasure, Rob. You have a great day, and great talking to you.
All righty.